Well, welcome back to chapter 34 in Genesis. And here we go. The summary is Shechem defiles Dinah. The Hivites seek to arrange marriages with Jacob's family. Many having been circumcised are slain by Simeon and um, and Levi. Jacob reproves his sons. It's interesting because a lot of times I don't know about you, but when I think about the Old Testament and we do it in Sunday school, we're going over the Old Testament, I tend to think of this area as just um, for some reason just Jewish, right? But Judah came after Jacob, right? And so um, you have these Hivites. That's a tribe. These Hivites, they're a tribe themselves out there. So you have all these tribes out there, and some believe in the God of Jehovah, and some believe in him differently, like different sects. SECTS sects, and yeah, they believe in him differently. So, verse 1. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. So this is Leah's daughter and Jacob's daughter. And when Shechem, the only daughter, I think, from Jacob, the only one, um, and when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. Now, she's not defiled because like you're defiled. What he did to her was wrong. She's not wrong. What he did to her is wrong. So there's a difference. It's like saying, it's not the girl's fault. She's not lesser of a girl because so as in being defiled. It's describing the act that he did to her. And it was a wrong done to her. So and I'm trying to straighten this out. So and 3. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. So he probably saw her, and in some countries throughout time, and maybe even now, there's countries that um, and the people believe, and they go to different countries that may not believe, that may not be the culture of this country, but they bring their culture with them. That if they want someone, as long as they're not married, if they take them and have sex with them, then then that person is going to marry them because they have no choice. And so, because if they don't say we're getting married and pretend like they're a couple, then that person's going to feel defiled. But it's kind of like the milk bone thing with the dog. So if they turn it around, it's okay because we're a couple. And so some people have pressed on people and said, once I do this to them, they'll be mine because that's how they think of this act. It it's only with one person, and whoever gets in there can. And that's why some cultures actually marry their daughters off younger. Before this can happen, they try to choose that person's spouse, not let somebody come along and do that to them because they want to marry them. So they actually um, will arrange marriages as particularly, sometimes they do it particularly young, as soon as a girl will reach maturation age, so that in case someone takes her, she doesn't become pregnant by someone that just runs off and just was taking her. And sometimes they will blame the girl for that. However, if the girl is married, clearly the guy will be killed or stoned or blamed for it. But if she's not married, it's like he thinks that he won't be able to have her for that. And the family doesn't know if they want to be family with that person's family. So they try to pick the families they want to be family with, the families they believe they can get along with and that will take care of their child. And so by him doing this, he may have watched her and wanted to marry her, but didn't know. They might have even planned it in the background. Well, we know we're not from the same tribe as them, we're not the same people. Well, if you take her, we don't have it all. We don't have it all in this book. So if you take her, they will marry her so that she won't be disgraced, because back then, if you weren't a virgin when you got married, you there's a very unlikelihood that you would get married because the man didn't feel like he would be special to you and you could have someone special because you might be thinking of other men. And how does he know his child is yours? You always know if the child's the mom's child because it came from her, but you don't know who the dad is unless you do the DNA or whatever, unless you just know. And so that's the whole issue here too is, if she's, the guy in his head says, oh, she's mine, she's endeared to me. And you know how that is with couples, even now, no one wants to be cheated on, right? So it's a sign that she hasn't been with anyone else, even if, you know what I mean? And so she's completely been loyal to you. And some women are like that too, but they don't really have much of a choice, right? Um, women, you know. So anyway, so it's going to be harder for her to get married, and it's very likelihood that she wouldn't ever marry ever because someone had already um, been with her. And so anyway, he's probably pretty sure he's going to be able to marry her. I mean, he's thinking, I got wealth, I have prestige, I have clout, and you're going to be okay. This is the way we do things here. You're pretty lucky. Other people would want this, whatever. And she's probably completely just torn. She was a virgin, and I don't know how old she was. Um, and it all makes a difference. And the fact that she was just taken. And she's thinking, oh, what will her parents think? She's not going to be able to marry whoever she loves, or the same religion and the same tribe. Will she have to go live with them? Because sometimes you went, as we see in these other chapters, you left your family and went to the man's family, right? And she's going, I want to live with my family. I want to marry someone that's, so all these things. And not to mention the fact that he's done something to her without her permission, which is really bullying. It's really bullying and it's abusive. And he stole something from her that her rights, really took away probably trust that she didn't think anyone would do that, you know. And so, just took away her, her empowerment beliefs that, of her innocence of what she thinks about people. And anyway, um, he's played quite a thing with her, and he's just kind of so aloof about it, almost like, don't worry, and Shechem's, and maybe he has a clue now that it is pretty bad, um, that's a sacred thing, and he's really trampled on it. And um, 4, verse 4, and Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, give me this damsel to wife. And maybe he's trying to say, I really do love you. I really do. I want to marry you. I really do love you. And he feels like she can't say no now. But she's, you know, and Jacob heard he had defiled Dinah, his daughter, and now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And verse 6, and Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. I mean, like, who do they think they are? Now, we just heard he was within Esau's thing, and so you wonder, when did they get over there in this other man's area and territory? He was just with Esau, his group. So but he did buy a chunk of land. So what where they saying, we got some new neighbors, and there's a girl there, and you need a spouse. Instead of courting her, you know, anyway, and then deciding, well, we'll change to your religion then and your thoughts then, and then they'll marry. He just takes privileges, he takes what do you call it? Anyway, he liberties with someone as if, being so used to being on a pedestal and more important, I guess, than everyone else. And he really treated her as if she didn't have a right to have an opinion or, you know, all right to who she was and what she wanted. But in verse 7, and the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very, very wroth. They were very wroth because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give him to wife. And you're going, seriously? This is the color I have on. I have to tell you, if you're watching the video, it's not just scripture. I did make a lot of this for my grandkids to read, do scripture with them. But I did this side, and a lot of times I don't take off my polish. I just freshen the color. And I learned that from my sister Jennifer. You don't always have to just take off the polish over and over again. You can just put it on top because it wears off anyway. Just like it wears off the ends, it's wearing off the top. And you can just freshen it instead of taking it off over and over again. And so I prefer the fingernail polish that doesn't have formaldehyde and all these other things in it. But I picked this up, and it doesn't say it doesn't have it. But I was going to do my right hand. But anyway, I'm still going to do it while I'm talking to you. But anyway, think about this. They like to marry within their own religion too. And that's really important. If they take their daughter into their camp and they don't even live their religion, she would be trying to live it on her own, trying to teach everyone how to do it. And her kids probably won't be raised that way. It is really a mess. It is huge. And the only thing they can do is marry and take him to them. And some people would say, well, it was better that the women died being raped, being imposed on. And people thought that because they didn't want to deal with anything else. They had their hang-ups, and it is wrong to have these hang-ups. So they had these hang-ups, and they didn't think they would be able to marry her because of all these silly, silly hang-ups that are all one-sided. Because if he's slept around, he's just as whatever, especially if he did it on purpose. And, and no one forced him. She's still completely clean. She's still completely a virgin. She's still a virgin. When you're forced to have sex, you are still a virgin. Someone did something to you and they imposed it, but it does not take that away from you. And that's where they're wrong. Now, and it doesn't, and they defiled her, but she's not defiled. And he's defiled. He's defiled himself, and he's defiled. So she's still her, but she's injured. They injured her soul. They injured her physically. And so that's, these cultures have to stop this craziness. And no one should marry him again, knowing that he's crazy enough and has such disrespect. He should just be like, you can be single for life because no one's going to trust you because you're crazy. You're missing something. And so, anyway, and it's not, and yes, he can change. He can. And it looks like he's realizing, ooh, this was a big deal. And maybe they were doing it in their culture and it was one thing, but it was a big deal. These women care about that. They're not all about like, I'm going to marry someone rich, and so it doesn't matter, And verse 9, and make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. So they want to mix with them, but it's not that easy because there's a whole culture. And maybe they would be willing to take that in, but it's a whole culture you have to take in. And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get your possessions therein. Now, what they should have done all this before. He should have said, I want her. Dad, can you go speak to her family? That would have been so much better than creating this huge thing. It's so much better. And if they would have said no, then he could have said, well, let's go find a girl for you. You're ready to get married, you know. Or they could have said, well, look, are you willing to do all this? Oh, yes, we're willing to do that since he's willing to do this for his son. Maybe they would. So, it's so much better to not do that. And it just caused so much. And they're so upset when they think that it's better if she was killed because they don't know what to do with her. Well, it should be the other way around. Well, they don't know what to do with him. They know what to do with her. Love her, nurse her back, let her kick him a few times. If she chooses to marry him, then fine. But if she chooses not to, then he needs to be sent off, or kicked or something, kicked and because you have to remember he could change over years, but he needs to pay a price, and she needs to be given 10 cows and 50 this and be able to kick them or whatever. He said, ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. And 11, he says, and Shechem said unto her father and unto her brother, let me find grace in your eyes. What shall I say unto me? I will give thee. So he's really wanting to marry her. And if she wants to marry him, that's probably the best thing for them. And maybe I don't know, it doesn't ever say that she knew him and that they were talking and chatting, but a lot is left out, and that very well could have happened. But he misunderstood. He thought just because they chatted, he could do this. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitful, and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. 17, but if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. And 18, and their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And 19, and the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters for us wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only hereon will the men consent unto us, for to dwell with us is to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. 23, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. So they're also saying, look at all we have to gain from them, from Jacob's family. I mean, they have all this cattle, they have all this stuff. We have a lot to gain. So why do we do this? And so they're thinking they got a pretty good deal. It's interesting because he's king, but anyone can be king, right? I mean, this group of people gets together over here and they decide, well, you're going to be the leader. Okay, you're the king. Not because they have anything, but they need someone to be the leader. And they're saying, hey, we have a lot to get. Every beast of theirs will be ours. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised. All that went out of the gate of his city. It's interesting. I wonder who they're buying their land from. Are they buying it from, that means someone's the head of them. All this land, they have to take some money and give it to the city something and say, okay, now this is my land because you gave the city something money. And well, who is that? Because you have all these little kingdoms. So who is that? Because whoever that is would be the head of all of them, wouldn't it? And it came to pass that on the third day, when they were sore, um, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city bodily and slew all the males. That was wrong. There's all these innocent people that died for what one person did, and they didn't do anything. And they probably didn't kill the one that did something. Isn't that crazy? The one that did something is the one that nothing happens to. And then all these innocent people go because of what the leaders do. All but the leaders are not hurt, are hurt. And not only that, it's just going to add more. Um, sorry, it was in my head. It's going to add more pain to Dinah because they're dragging this on. They're making it bigger. You might go, oh well, yeah, but they got them back. They'll never mess with her again. They gave her back showed them a thing or two. Well, the other one would have too, letting them all get circumcised, even if they said, well, you're all circumcised now, but my daughter won't have you. Even if they did that. But to go and kill someone over that and make fatherless children and husbandless wives and sons from mothers and brothers from sisters, it's wrong. That was so wrong. And that's really wrong. Um, okay. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. So she was at the house. Um, that must have been quite. Um, I don't know why I can't think of it. I think of horrific, but traumatizing to her, you know, because she's in his house. She might have been going, okay, this is what's going to happen. Okay, he's going to honor this, and I'm not going to have to worry about. I'm not going to marry anyone now, and he's going to apologize. He's comforting me over this, and maybe trying to heal from it. And they come in and they traumatize her even more by killing him and killing all these people, all this bloodshed and just killing people. I mean, the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister. 28. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, that which was in the city and that which is in the field. And 29. And all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives took they captive and spoiled, even all that was in the house. What does spoil mean? Did they go rape those people? Rape the wives? And Jacob said unto Simeon and Levi, We have troubled. Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, Should he deal with our sister as a harlot? They murdered someone, murdered people, and they're like, you know, it's one reason sometimes you should run past what you're going to do with a few people and maybe pray about what you should do. Um, because now people are like, ugh, we don't want to be bothered with them. There's something wrong with them. Yeah, they did this, but they did this, one person did this to their daughter. We don't want to have neighbors like them. They're emotionally unstable. They're, you know what I mean? They they don't understand boundaries, and they don't understand all these stuff like that. So they're like the ghetto people of the area. And Jacob now has two sons that have done this. And Levi actually becomes like, his line are the temple workers. I mean, come on, So he doesn't have an inheritance. His people just, they work temple. Actually, who comes from him? He's John the Baptist, and his father Zacharias, and I don't remember the mother's name. But good people come out of that. So just because your father does something crazy doesn't mean that you are going to be crazy. Or if someone in your lineage is crazy doesn't mean that you're going to blow it. You can learn from that. And they just, whew, boy, that's a really sad thing. So anyway, that's a really sad thing. So we can learn from the scriptures. We can see here that, oh my gosh, people sometimes before they say things, they used to say, count to 10 before you say anything. You're really angry, count to 10. Breathe deep or walk away or sleep on it. If they're saying, this is a really great deal, you need to buy it now, and they're all feeling all emotional and everything, sometimes it's better to say, I'm going to sleep on it. And if they say, well, you won't get that deal now, and you'll say, well, you're not the only car salesman or the only shop here. I'm sure I can go to another place, and they'll change their tune because they want to make that commission. They're just trying to hurry and push you into something so that you'll do it now. But it's better to sleep on it, count to 10, or, just don't act on your emotions and feelings. Sleep on it. Give yourself, if you're really angry about something, do something else. Do something else for a while before you think about doing anything. And if it has anything to being with breaking the commandments, just know that if someone does something to you, everything you do comes back to you. Have you ever heard that? Yes, people call it the law of karma. By making it right, they don't know, his sister might have been happy, but we know one thing: she is traumatized now. So, anyway, we will get back together in chapter 35. So I hope this helps talk about things. I know sometimes I used to read the scriptures and go, what does that mean? And how come they're not talking about this part of the scripture, just the usual part? Or how come they just read and leave that whole chapter behind? And I think most chapters have something you can say about them besides. I mean, we did have a little commentary, but besides just what's read. So I'll see you in the next chapter.